Hello, or should I say g'day, and my name is Teresa Valentino. I'm a survivor of child sex trafficking, and I maintain a DIY mental health blog at teresavalentino.com where I share my savvy for survival, my pro tips to help you get through stuff. Today, I would like to, first of all, thank the people who have written me in supportive thoughts and words. Recently, I really appreciate you guys. I have a couple of friends from Australia and other people in America, just a lot of different people around the world that are supportive of me, and I really appreciate you guys. Not really that many people, it's like a handful, but I would really rather just have a handful of people who can really get something out of my experience than have a whole army of people not caring. So, you mean a lot to me is what I'm saying. I also want you guys to know that what I did in the last couple of videos, I was very, very honest, not only with you, but with my therapist and with myself. Like, keep learning, doing this thing where I just got over my phobia about being photographed, and I just, started talking into my phone and saying the most intimate, horrible things in my life to a bunch of strangers that I don't even know if anybody's even gonna watch them. That was actually quite a little stunt on my part, you know what I mean? Like, I have carried more dead bodies than Polly Walnuts, and, fucking grab a hose and go into a burning building, you know what I mean? But this is a nuts. So anyway, anytime you do something like that, anytime you muster your courage and charge towards something that will just be better for you, because it just will, despite how it feels for you, that's the thing to do. Anytime you muster that up and make it happen, there's an enormous payback for that. Like, it's hard to even explain. It's almost like a drug with a come down, except it's the opposite of a come down. It's like, it's thrilling when you do it, and there's usually consequences of some kind or another, but to me, like, the adrenaline rush and the kick behind it is always worth it times 1,000. So I just have to get to a point with my stress factors where I can see what the leap of faith is, and then I rock it, okay? So point of all this is that I shared some very honest stuff the last couple of videos about my suicidal ideation, and I'm gonna follow up on that because I got so much clarity out of that crap-tastic mood that I got into last week. I started remembering more things about the incident that led to my near-death experience. Like, I have a better sense of where I was in the room and how many perpetrators there were, that kind of thing. But that's all very discombobulated, and it's upsetting emotionally. Like, I have to patch this little set of upsetting shit that I remembered the last few days together with the rest of the super upsetting stuff that I know about that, and then, okay, as I knit those together, then I have a bigger context, and then that's super upsetting. Anyway, long story short, I got so much benefit out of this. I've been in a weird, funky fog for the last about a month, where I've not even been able to really correspond with my friends on email that I normally do. I have such nice people that read my blog, and I've not even been able to keep in touch with people because I've been too out of it, man. And my brain has actually been doing a lot of work. So I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other videos to do for you. I got literally one really juicy video per day on average out of the last 7 days of misery, and now it's totally gone. I'm back to my old self. I feel like I can be on top of my stuff, you know what I mean? And I learned so much. Like, this 7 videos I'm gonna do for you guys is not even what I learned total. Anyway, one question that Sandy asked me about was becoming visible. Like, she had the same experience that I did, where when your mom decides that you're not gonna matter, you're not gonna be visible, it's really hard to renegotiate that with the rest of the world. That's a challenge that she and I have had in common for quite some time. So I'm super excited that I have this chance to follow up with Sandy, because I got so much clarity on that yesterday. So my usual therapy sessions are on Tuesday. So I toughed it out over the weekend. I went to therapy on Tuesday. She was very nice. She squeezed me in again on Wednesday morning, and we talked some more. I could still talk to her for another hour, but I get what I get for now. Until I'm a wealthy person and I can just pay to have like Skype sessions with her, as much as I want to or whatever, then I'm gonna have to roll with it. That's why I do this blog, because I do a lot of muddling through. So, but this, man, I got so much clarity on becoming visible yesterday. And the thing is, like, you can learn how to stop being disappointed by the things that don't go your way or that piss you off or whatever. If you can learn how to just roll with it, like that horse and rider analogy, you might just be amazed. So I completed that second therapy session in a row yesterday, and my mood is pretty much back to pretty good. Like, now that I've started thinking of depression and suicidal ideation as like a psychological version of herpes, where it just flares up sometimes and then you're miserable for a few days, and then you gotta just don't freak out about it. Do what you can do and don't sweat it. Just, roll through, wait for it to pass, and then you're back to your life, right? So, that is a whole new way of looking at it that's never happened to me before. So that in and of itself is an enormous blessing. Just the tip of the iceberg, though. So I left the therapy session, and I know that the internet is full of news that's going to make my heart sing and freaking dance about sleazy, skeezy, rotten people dying in prison. Say no more. But I would love to just roll around in the malicious glee that is my rightful due. The internet is full of it right now, and I have not been able to bask or revel in it anywhere near the way I would like to, because I'm so distracted with my mental health. And quite frankly, I really need to avoid a lot of the news outlets, even like Huffington Post or Vox or stuff. A lot of different places will just post stuff that is super upsetting to me. Like, there is not a chance that I can cope with these screaming migrant children. There's not for a fucking second. And I kind of resent the world for needing to bombard me with that stuff for a full week, where I couldn't turn on any I had to like cut my internet use all the way down, and I had to there was no way to get away from it, and it's just too upsetting for me. I'm sorry. I've heard too many children screaming. You can't do that to me. So anyway, I was really looking forward to my little me time. That's the first time I felt like myself in a week. I've been feeling like crap for like a month, and now I'm back, Jack. I got a bunch of stuff going on. You know what I mean? I'm good to go. One of the things that was bugging me, my pedicure went all to hell in a handbasket. So I had to miss last month for financial reasons. And then, I came back this month. I had a really nice little salon, right? Like a block from my house. It's super convenient. It's almost always Vietnamese people who are brand new immigrants. Like the Vietnamese Americans that I know have told me that is kind of an immigrant hookup, where if you want to immigrate from Vietnam, then your family can sometimes get you working in a salon so that you have a place to land and some kind of income, and some people who speak your language, that kind of thing. But then it ends up being almost kind of like people not always having as much agency as they like. Some of those places are just horrible. You go in there and they stink of chemicals. It's just the worst. And sometimes it's really hard to communicate, and then I don't like that either. It's like, I don't know if these people have agency in this arrangement, or what is the mood here? You know what I mean? I don't know what's happening sometimes. And I don't know, sometimes the vibe is just bad. And a lot of times it's because of my mobility challenges. It's really hard for me to make it work. Like, I can't climb in and out of their goofy chair, or it's not long enough and I would have to bend my knees at an uncomfortable angle, that kind of thing. So anyway, I found a nice little place and I really liked it. The first time I went in there, it was probably 6 or 7 different women working there and maybe 10 customers. And I really liked it because it seemed almost like a co-op, where they all seemed almost equally co-invested in being nice to all of the customers. Like, all of the ladies were taking care of all of the customers, and it was just amazing. I wish the whole world was like that. Then we, the customers, can sit there and just tip the crap out of all of them, and then, my God, everything works, doesn't it? Everything fits together in a beautiful way if people can just play along together. It's not that complicated. So I liked that so much, and that was the best pedicure. It felt so amazing. I hadn't had a pedicure in years that time, because I was a homeless person. I just did not have that money at all. And I didn't have it last month either, you know what I mean? But my feet actually look pretty great, because I don't have to wear shoes anymore. Like, when I was a paramedic, I wore those nasty boots. My feet looked so much worse when I got 1 or 2 pedicures per month as a paramedic than they do now, based on those horrible safety shoes and the blisters and the calluses and just the misery of it all. My feet are a breeze now. Anyway, long story short, I walked out of my therapy thing and I was like so excited. Oh my God, I'm going to get these raggedy toenails done. And so I go in there and I'm the only customer in the place. There's only 2 women there. That's great because it was too hot when there was a lot of people in it. But she sits me down and this lady speaks like not one word of English. Like, you know what I mean? The lady who's helping me, you kind of have to pantomime with all of them sometimes, and I was able to help them before pantomiming with the lady who didn't understand. She wants to know if you want her to bring your keys out of your purse so you don't have to screw your nails up. Men have no idea what we live with. So I helped her translate that with pantomime, you know what I mean? So it's a little awkward, but it's kind of cool too because I didn't want to talk to anybody. Fucking A, man. This is my chance to finally just get somebody to pamper me a little bit while I just zone out and read the great news that's waiting for me. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. So I deserve that, man. It's my little $20 break. So this lady starts right away just picking and fussing at me about my feet. Like my toenails are disgusting. Like she's, when she took off the polish, what is she gonna say about taking off my nail polish? Like, really? But then she started like, next thing they do is they dig the crud out from under your toenails before they clip them. And then she's like looking up like this. It's like, you know, they wipe that crap off on the towels. I watch them do this to everybody all the time. It's the same every time. Like, understand, there is nothing quantifiably different about my feet than anyone else's in the world, okay? Not only that, my feet are objectively better looking and prettier to mess with than 100% of the adult males on planet Earth and probably 35% of the adult females. Eat a dick, bitch. So, but I didn't even want to go there. And this is why I'm invisible, Sandy. This is how invisibility starts, okay? I didn't think about this until I talked to my therapist. But no, it was super obvious when I talked to her. And she's a woman and she goes pedicures all the time. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, the lady, she was like making grimacing and showing me how gross the towel was with the crud from under my toenails on it, and she had to flip it over. I don't care. Sweetie, I really don't care about that. I see them flipping towels over all the time. Stop it. So, because I'm kind of ignoring her while she's negging on me, but see, that was a boundary violation. So fucking wrong. I had a friend in paramedic school who did not end up, I don't think, working as a paramedic, but she was working at the time as a cosmetologist. She was doing manicures and pedicures at a salon. And I remember she told me that, like, they trained her in cosmetology school that not to initiate any conversation with a customer ever until that person has initiated conversation with you 3 times. Like, I would have to say, oh, isn't the weather great? Hey, did you hear about the Cubs? Whatever, 3 times for her to just start initiating conversation with me. And this thing where you try to shame people about the condition of their feet, call that one never. Don't ever do that. Are you out of your mind? So I realized after the fact that was how I'm invisible, because that's just the conflict-driven people of the world just walk around looking for somebody to externalize their negativity onto, basically. That lady is really full of negative feelings about stuff, and so when she sees a big fat white lady who's 6 feet tall, she just can't even understand how a freak like me even walks around or isn't ashamed of myself. She can't deal with it because she's a bitch. So, you know, I'm great. That's why I love the language barrier sometimes. You know what I mean? I've learned to pretend I don't speak English because nobody knows around here because it's all immigrants, so nobody has any clue who you are. Sometimes I act like I'm just even way crazier than I am when people want to talk to me about bullshit that I don't want to get engaged with, because this is Los Angeles, okay? So sometimes, like, I had a lady coming up and wanting to ask me for money, and she was better dressed than I was, whore. So, so I just went like this. And then the light changed and I fucking walked. Bye. Bye, Felicia. So, but that's how it is. Like, certain people are just conflict driven and lacking in self-awareness, okay? So, and that lady had the false sense of comfort of the language barrier, thinking that, well, I can talk Vietnamese to the other ladies here, and this big dumb Viking broad with her fat ass is not going to know what I'm talking about. So she's dead wrong on that, though. So, but the thing is, I realized what to do. Let me just tell you the rest of the story. So she goes on, and then as she's like working on my feet, then she starts with the pumice, which they do every single time. So she's starting to pumice my feet, and then she calls my attention. She doesn't speak English. She's not like, excuse me, ma'am, look at this, right? She's just gesturing and making faces, right? About my toenails. So she takes the pumice, and yeah, of course there's some dead skin on the bottom of it. There always is, okay? There always is. That's what a pumice stone does. So she holds it up and goes, like that. She did that twice. And, you know, I just was like, oh, yeah, you know, like, and at one point I said, yeah, I actually walk outside all the time. You know what I mean? So it gets very gritty and grubby. I don't know what she's on about. And she doesn't understand me anyway. But is she asking me to explain why my feet are dirty? Because I wear sandals around Los Angeles. Guess what? It's filthy here. So, whatever, bitch. So she's just trying to shame me about the condition of my feet, which is in and of itself, now that I'm explaining this to you in a video, I'm sure you can see what's wrong with this picture. Like, no salon in the world does this. It's just not the way it's done. So, you know, I paid her and I didn't tip her, and then I just left. But I thought about it, and I talked to my therapist about it, and then I went back the next day, yesterday, and I handed her a note, which was just a very simple note that the owner is going to have to, because I figured out now who the owner is. It's the lady who's always there every time. And when there were only 2 women there, the other woman did my feet. But I went back yesterday and I handed her a note that said in English, very nice, you know, the lady from yesterday was very mean to me. She obviously found me very dirty and disgusting. Never again. And then I'm going to let her just go ahead and find somebody who speaks enough English to explain there what happened. Because at one point, after this woman was already sitting there like trying to gross me out with the way my feet are, or getting, what does she want from me? An apology? Like, what is this conversation? And that's why I didn't engage it, because guess what? I'm not available for that kind of horse shit, okay? Can you imagine how petty, how comfortable that broad has to be in her life to be that petty with me while I'm paying her to do a pedicure, okay? I'm not Dustin Hoffman over here. She's not some aspiring screenwriter. She's a freaking pedicurist, really, and I'm paying her. Shut up. So at one point, like, the owner, I guess, came and sat like sort of looking out the window off like behind this lady's shoulder, kind of gazing out the window, and the woman made some comment in Vietnamese, which caused, see, I'm hyper alert, so even when I'm just reading the newspaper, I'm still watching everything that happens because I just can't bring it down. So I see this lady, the owner, after whatever she said to her in Vietnamese, the owner looked over at me and smiled because of the discomfort that she had with this woman talking shit about me right in front of my face in her salon. You know what I mean? Because that wall of language barrier only goes so far, sweetie. I mean, people are not as dumb as you think. So hopefully she never gets hired there again. There's obviously a big pile of women waiting there to work, like it was on the first day I went in there. You know what I mean? There's a ton of people ready to work in that salon. And you know, again, this is the greater Los Angeles area. I mean, I may not be able to find any place else tomorrow. I mean, there may only be 9 million places within, you know, a 5-mile radius of me that will do a pedicure for $15. So I may have to wait tomorrow, even as long as Monday, until there's like 17 million places where I could get it done for $15. So, you know, there's that. So how could I have become visible? I'm already 20 minutes into this video, but you know what? This is so worthwhile. Here's how to be visible. And this is what I got from talking to my therapist, who has a totally different way. My therapist said, you know, when these women, sometimes you'll get somebody that does something weird, like this lady the whole time after I wasn't biting her bait about how gross the pumice stone was and how sickening my toenails were and whatever. You know, I just wasn't playing her game because I want to read what's happening for real. And it just, when you do that with that kind of person, it just pisses them off. They feel like you're being passive aggressive to them because they project the same ideation and behavior that they engage in all the time onto you. And they assume that if I was doing that, that would just be passive aggression. But you see, you got to go back to what is your classical definition. And I need to quote 2 classical definitions right here, okay? Actually 3 I need to do. Let me write these down because I'm a dingbat sometimes. Okay, codependent is one of them I need to do the real definition of. Then I also need to do aggressive versus assertive. And I already forgot what the third one was. We'll see what happens. Aggressive versus assertive. Okay, so codependent is putting the needs of others before your own needs. Okay, and it's the opposite of narcissism. So if you have a narcissistic, abusive parent, there's a very good chance that your response was either narcissism or codependence. Okay, then you got to remember the difference between aggression and assertion, right? Aggression is aware of my rights and the rights of the other person, and aggression is aware of only my own rights and needs. And assertion considers also the rights and needs of the other person, like mindful of the boundaries, yeah? So, as like a lot of the Me Too conversations, a lot of the people who are not knowledgeable on how these things work and how they play out in real life don't understand why you didn't just go, oh, well, I never, and slap Harvey Weinstein in his face and walk out, or Louis C.K., you know what I mean? They just don't understand how wacko it is when someone in an elevator just turns around and gets a handful. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and it's the same response that I had with this pedicure woman negging on me, is like, okay, I want to just go back to the original thing where we're both going to take this elevator and not touch each other, right? So I kind of did the same thing of like, I just don't want to engage that bullshit. So, but my therapist was like, oh, no. If they do something weird like pinching your toes, because when I wouldn't bite her bait, then she started digging her. Nobody's ever done this to me. I've had hundreds of pedicures. Dug her thumbnail into the space between my nail and my cuticle like this, and then used it to sort of like manipulate my toes while she worked on them. Like, nobody's ever done that before. They definitely don't teach you that in cosmetology school because it's fucking painful and awful. Like, who does that? And you know what? I just didn't even want to fight with her dumbass. I really, really wanted to watch these people go die in jail. So I'm so much more invested in this that I just did the thing I always do. Shut my pain tolerance threshold right straight off. Don't feel it, don't care. I don't want to play her game. Don't want to play it. Just like I'm at a business meeting with Harvey Weinstein, I don't want him to jerk off on a plant. I want to go back to the original conversation where maybe I can get my career forward or get my feet done. You know what I mean? So that's the difference between me and the visible people. The visible people just like automatically it gets their hackles. Bitch, you're over my line. Excuse me? Like, okay, so this is what my saints showed me about this. The very first time that woman started like making a big deal about how gross the towel looked and like making a fuss and like trying to get my attention and being like, at first she was super passive aggressive about it, and I made her actually have to like tap me to get me to look so she could be like, no, I have never seen, not only have no one ever done that to me at a pedicure place before, I've never seen anyone do that to anyone in any salon ever. Like, I am so disgusted by your feet that I need to pull a face the whole time I'm working on you. So that's my bad for not telling her to eat shit and die. Like, I'm gonna stand up here. What I could have done, and what I probably would do next time, given a do-over, I just need to understand that while I live in this world full of conflict-driven people, when they decide to conflict with me, I need to clap, okay? Conflict with me one time, clap. None of this fucking bullshit where I use my superpowers of not dealing with you because you're nobody and nothing. That woman is nothing. Here's the other thing. Like, my therapist said, well, you should still keep going to the salon, and then if they try to give you to that woman, you can just be like, no, not her, because I'll do that. She's like, yeah, I do that all the time. If somebody does a bad job, or if they have an attitude, or they do something weird like pinch my toe, definitely not her. And I'll embarrass her in front of everybody because fuck that. See, that's how visible ladies roll, okay? So there is that. I could also have just told her, no, just say no. And that's what the therapist said. Like when they, occasionally somebody wants to do something that doesn't feel good to me, or I don't like what they're doing, like they're going to cut too much off or something, I will just say no, you know, because there is a language barrier, but everybody, kind of little kids, even dogs, everybody gets that, no matter what language they speak. So, you know, that's the thing, is like they just have a different sense of what the boundaries are. So not only was there a number of different things that I could have done, like when somebody tries to make you invisible, make them uncomfortable. That's my thing, okay? So I needed to make her uncomfortable to the owner of the salon. Now, because of my mental health challenges, I was not able to do that other than by giving her a note the next day. And what I ended it with was never again. Now, I didn't specify whether that means I will never come into this salon again, or you will never assign me to that woman again, or I will never get another pedicure. I didn't specify because I'm not really sure. And I'm sure I will get other pedicures, like I said. But, you know, I'm just not clear on this other, just because that was so uncool. So it probably cost that woman her hookup at the salon, because I cannot imagine that that lady who puts so much effort and works her ass off in there to keep that place very nice and be super duper accommodating to all of the people, she's not going to appreciate that at all, because she actually heard the woman say something awful about me and it startled her. So she looked over at me and smiled, like to smooth that over, because it was wrong. It was so wrong. So that's the thing, is like that was, and my therapist got me to understand this, that was technically a bad touch, right? Like she had my permission to touch me. I even paid her to touch me. But she did not have my permission to dump her negative opinions on me, to try to shame me about anything. And then when I won't take the bait, you're gonna pinch me? Fuck you. You know what I mean? That's how to be visible. You just have to be like, woman, you are out of your mind. You know what I mean? Like, shame people, freak them out, because people, those little conflict-driven bullies is what they are. And they're cowards. They're super cowardly. You know what I mean? Like if I understood Vietnamese, holy shit, she would never say that. She would probably keel over dead. You know what I mean? I should actually learn some Vietnamese so I can speak a few words and watch whose face goes, well, they really, like everybody at the White House, just wondering, what did I say? Was that, did she hear that? You know what I mean? Like, you know, but that place, the first few times I went in there, had such a lovely vibe with the way everybody was working together and being respectful towards each other that I was flabbergasted, really. So that's, you know, that's something to think about. Like, that was the third one, bad touch. Okay, so we've got codependent, aggression versus assertion, and bad touch, okay? Little kids know when things are not appropriate because it doesn't feel good to them. You know what I mean? When kids, even when these little sneaky molesters like Larry Nassar, perfect example, they have no idea that what's happening is abuse. And I heard that over and over and over again in the sentencing hearing for Larry Nassar, and that Judge Aquilina was amazing. She let every one of those people testify. That one of the dads almost busted him in the mouth. Larry has since then been assaulted in prison. But that, and he, just the way he handled that whole thing. If you did not get a chance to watch any of the Larry Nassar sentencing, I definitely highly recommend. I would get that shit on DVD and watch it over and over again, because it's depressing and horrifying to see that all those young girls would report over and over again and spread their legs for him to diddle them, and they hated it. They hated it. It was so uncomfortable emotionally. You know what I mean? I've had a ton of medical stuff done to me, and it's never felt the way that would absolutely feel. You know what I mean? But how would they know? Their parents didn't know. How were they supposed to know? You know what I mean? So how were they supposed to know? Because their body didn't like it. It was bad touch. See? That's your body being your friend. And ironically, or coincidentally, or paradoxically, if you want to look at it that way, as a survivor with PTSD, it's really hard to feel your body. Very hard to maintain body awareness. And that's another little side thing that my saints pointed out to me after I left the salon with all this learning about how to become visible in the world. They make me invisible, I make them uncomfortable. I'm gonna stay within my bounds as a lady. I didn't cuss her out. I smiled politely. I paid for the service because she actually did change my nail polish and, you know, fix my feet kinda. hated me the whole time, but whatever. You know, but I made her uncomfortable. I maybe made her lose her job. But if she loses her job, it's the same as like creepy criminals going to jail. That's what happens when you do that. So, but yeah, think about it in terms of bad touch. Like, I allowed that woman to do a bunch of bad touch on me because my mom broke my boundaries, right? But I did know in two different ways. I needed to stop. The real mistake that I made was when I realized that she was suggesting that my feet were super disgusting, like with the towel when she first started it. What I should have done was play dumb and be like, what are you saying? What does that mean? Huh? What are you trying to say? I don't understand. That there's something wrong with the towel? And then insist that the owner come over and explain it to me, because there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that lady would have engaged that conversation. She had no idea that this woman was like nudging me with her elbow and then going, ugh. I promise you she didn't know. I should have taken a video of her doing it. But yeah, see, that's another thing you can do. This is something else I'm thinking about. The other day I walked past my corner grocery shop, my corner donut shop. Southern California has a donut shop the way Chicago has a hot dog stand. So I walked past the donut shop and there's a big expensive ass luxury car with no wheelchair plates on it parked right smack in the middle of the wheelchair spot. That's a thing, man. I hate that shit. So I'm gonna just start taking pictures, and that's what I did. I whipped out my phone and I just snapped a picture of him in that space with that license plate. I don't think there's anything I can do with it, but I might start wanting to shame people at some point. People who cut me off in line to the only disabled toilet because they want to take a dump. Able-bodied person cuts me off to the disabled toilet so I can stand and look at the empty ones while they take a dump. That person is gonna get shamed, maybe. I'm thinking about it. The young man that pulled his vehicle in front of me in the middle of the intersection, I should have taken a videotape of his license plate and let him get a ticket for that shit. So, you know what I mean? I'm considering my options. This is what visible people do. This is the kind of stuff visible people do. Okay, lady? If you want to be that kind of a jerk, I'm going to shame you on the internet. I hope she goes viral being a jerk to a disabled person who needs to pee. So that's the thing. This is something for you to think about. Think about good touch, bad touch. You got to start becoming more vigilant instead of about fearing what other people will do. Like noticing what people will do and in real time checking whether that's okay with you according to what you set out for yourself. And if it's not, don't go one step further. Don't let anybody go one step further with you if you are uncomfortable with what's happening. The other thing about the body awareness that I wanted to mention before I end this is that the whole time I was doing that pedicure, my left leg could not get comfortable. Like my knee was kind of jammed into the seat somehow. Like my right leg was mostly okay, but I had to leave my left leg at an angle that was not working for it for quite kind of a long time, and it actually still hurt when I left. Like if you can't get comfortable in that chair, maybe your body is telling you that you shouldn't be comfortable in this situation. Genius, holy shit. So, anyway, sorry for all the swears and stuff, but I don't think the fussy ladies are watching this. Anyway, my name is Teresa Valentino. Please check out my blog at teresavalentino.com. I'm not sure there will be a written component to this next little round of videos because there's just so much to say. But I appreciate you guys again. Thanks for your emotional support, and I hope that you can use my news about visibility. I feel very, very excited about this, okay? So stay tuned. I have a few more videos coming right up.